the one thing that's really been I mean, a great and uplifting experience throughout all this, you know, since the first Pirates, has been really the people, you know, the people who have gone to see the film, you know, the audience members, and you know, we meet people on the street, whether they're 5, 25, 65, 85, you know, they've all had the same experience, and they've all enjoyed it. So, I mean, that's kind of what keeps me moving forward, you know, in this crazy process. Any character that you kind of come up with or create is a piece of you, you know. You're putting yourself into that character, but there's the guise of the character. So there's a certain amount of safety in being the character, where you feel more safe being the character than you do being just you. And with a character like a Captain Jack, who can essentially set up these sort of verbal landmines around him and just kind of keep passing the absurdity ball around and the irreverence ball around and keep people guessing and keep people confused. There's great safety in that, and I learn from it, you know, me, myself, personally learn from it, and it's you know, it's a real pleasure, and I do need it, yeah. With the first three, you know, the trilogy that was sort of basically, you know, there was a film called Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl, and then they decided to do a second and a third, so they had to build, kind of sculpt this trilogy. There was all these mathematics involved, you know, and subplots, trying to, we have to match this character to this character, and this has to make sense because of this. And so it became quite confusing at times for the audience and for us when we were making it. But so when we signed off on the fact that, okay, those stories are told, these characters are, you know, their stories have been told, you know. When we approached 4 and sat down in these story meetings, the first thing that happened was, we all agreed upon was, we must destroy formula, you know. We have to kill the formula and not rely on the old gags and the old jokes and stuff. We owe it to the audience. We owe it to the people who paid to see these things to, you know, give them something fresh, give them a brand new pair of eyes for this, you know, a new outlook on it, and yeah, surprise them. So that was what was really, you know, pulled the trigger for me, you know. Luckily, and, you know, very, you know, I was certainly, you know, touched and very honored that they welcomed me into the fold in terms of that process from day one on this one. It was a great experience, you know, because I could, you know, I'd always, on the first 3, I'd always throw my bits in, and I'd always kind of, you know, try to make the bottom drop out of a scene just to see where it would go, much to the chagrin of you know, sometimes other cast members or sometimes the producers or whatever, but, you know, I think you got to experiment and try to expand, you know, and have a look around, see what can happen. On this one, I was able to throw it in early so that it became a part of the script, as opposed to just, you know, me showing up and going, oh, by the way, here are my changes, you know. So, no, it was very helpful, I think, ultimately. Yeah, I'm really aghast to be involved from that moment on.
But a pleasure to talk to you about this film.
Yeah.
First of all, you have a relatively serious role in a outrageous comedy. Was it a bit disappointing?
You know what? I knew what I was getting into, and actually, I was saying that on the first day, I was really bored and jealous of everyone else getting to make jokes while I had to be super serious and very important. But then I saw the movie back, and I thought, actually, it's good for me to go and do something like that. People don't see me in that role traditionally, and it's nice for people to think of me in a different way.
And she does, without spoiling it for the audience, motivate and orient the story in her way. So tell us a bit more about.
Well, I play kind of a Moneypenny from James Bond type character, and I keep Sebastian Graves on track to foil a plot that a terrorist has against the world. So I'm delivering the exposition, but I also get to kind of stay in the mix, so to speak. So not a completely thankless role, but I definitely wouldn't have taken the part without my husband being in the movie.
Well, I mean, I asked Mark the same question, you know, what's your first reaction when you read a script like that? The humor is so outrageous, but very imaginative as well. So what goes through your mind?
You know, I was so involved in this project, you know, for the last 4 years, that, you know, through every draft, through every, you know, various inception, every joke, every set piece that came and went, every edit, so it's hard for me to kind of step back and remember my very first impression. But, you know, I don't get involved really in Sasha's creative stuff at the very early stages because, you know, it's such a personal thing, your instinct as to what you're going to be drawn to, what material you're going to want to explore, and I wouldn't want him to sort of tell me what projects I should do. So it's sort of like we do our own thing.
Are you able to gauge what his main points of inspiration are usually? What does he draw from around him?
You know, I think that you need to ask him that, but I think that what we both find funny is, you know, is real life. You never really get any interesting characters from movies. Obviously, it's just then you're just doing something derivative. You watch documentaries and you see real people and you bump up against interesting, you know, people that can spark something inspirational.
Being very involved in the film yourself, there's so many actors, it's a real ensemble. So how amazing was the process that everybody wanted to take part in it?
Well, it was just really fun to be in Cape Town, you know, with Penelope. She's got children and I have two, so we got to spend time together. And Rebel, of course, is wonderful in the movie. And Annabelle Wallis, fellow Aussie. And Mark Strong devastated me in The View from a Bridge. So it was wonderful to see him. And I think he could have been James Bond. I mean, he just pulls this role off effortlessly.
So if we're thinking of a scene where, you know, we're going to a premiere, honey, what are you wearing tonight? And then your husband tells you what he's wearing. What goes through your mind?
I'll tell you what, he didn't tell me what he was wearing. And I was on the red carpet. I'd been all frocked up and made up and my hair's done and I'm being interviewed and out the corner of my eye, I turn and there's my husband in underpants getting fed a sausage from a woman in like sort of a swimming costume. I thought, wait. Never a dull moment.
But you did have a very glamorous moment at the BAFTA, so that was a memorable evening.
Thank you.
How was the evening, and who are you supporting to win an Oscar this year?
You know what? The thing about sort of living in Hollywood on and off is you end up knowing everyone and you become friendly with everyone. So it's super hard to say. I mean, I love Leo, so obviously I hope it's Leo's time for him to get an award, like an Oscar.
And what is next for you?
I have a Tom Ford movie called Nocturnal Animals coming out, and then I have Keeping Up with the Joneses, which is a comedy directed by Greg Mottola.
Oh. Oh. Cool. Thank you. Look. That is Easter Island. There is no legend. Easter Island is unicorn to heart. Many assurances that was serious. You will be in the corner to what you and you would Easter Island is Easter Island is you were Easter Island. Look at me. Whoa! That sounds a slap. You're on the island? Now, Easter Island is a room at the university. You want to tell me serious that? I don't know what it was that. No. Yeah, pretty yes. We have the story. Listen what's in my little box. And with you. Please, what everyone. Oh, what? No. I love you, Rainbow. No, well, it's nothing. Sorry when. Okay. You said, we do what I not doing. It's